Terrence for you.
Terrence, tell us what you're seeing so far from the defense and how close are you to being ready for Oregon State?
Yeah, it's been a great fall camp thus far. I think the guys did a great job this offseason. Coach Novak and his staff preparing these guys physically, but not only preparing them physically, I think they took it upon themselves to prepare themselves mentally as well. And it's been put on display the first couple of weeks of practice, from all levels, from up front to the linebackers, to the back end. These guys have really bought into what we've emphasized in terms of, being aggressive and hunting, going after the ball and, creating chaos. They've really bought into that, and it's been exciting to see. When you turn on the tape and you got big guys like Aiden Keanu running on a perimeter, that's saying a lot about what the defense consists of. And so we're fired up as a staff where they are right now in terms of the things that we've been emphasizing. The guys are very coachable and have locked in, been very intentional and deliberate in that regard. I think we're going to continue to take this momentum and prepare as we get ready to, for August 30th.
Under Justin, you guys have practically graduated 2 whole secondaries to the NFL. Who are some of those guys that are stepping up and wanting to be those next names called off the board?
Yeah, Coach Wilcox has done a great job. Not only in the defensive back room, but on the defense as a whole. And the defensive back room specifically, man, those guys have set the bar really high. They've set the standard, and we've been fortunate enough to have some guys that have been in the room, that were in the room with a few of those guys, like the Craig Woodsons, the Elijah Higgs. We have some guys in the room that were around during that time, so they know what the standard consists of. And the guys in the room now have really tried to continue to emulate that to the best of their ability. And everybody is standing up in their own way. It's hard to pick one out. I think that's the best thing about our room is it's so competitive. I know somebody may have talked to Paco, and he talked about how everybody is competing for a spot, but at the same time, right, they all love one another and they want the best for one another. So they're continuously teaching each other, challenging each other, and it's been fun. We have some healthy competitions in the room. We got some guys in the room that they call the old head. In Camp Sydney, they call him the old head. I guess he's established as the grandfather, the OG in the room. And then we have other guys in the room that just have been here, like Maze Bryant. Maze Bryant, maybe not playing, but he has such a respect in the room in terms of just how he carries himself. And so, man, we're excited. Between Coach AB and myself and Coach Hayward, we're excited to see where this room is going to go. We have a lot of talent, and those guys are bought in right now, and they're competing at a high level.
Can you be at the level you've been at?
I believe so. Yeah, we believe so. We believe so, and they believe so. More importantly, they believe so. At the end of the day, it's about them. We try to put them in the positions to be successful, but they have to believe it in their, amongst one another, that they have the ability to continue to uphold that standard, and they do.
Sorry to interrupt. In the past few months, since you had a title change,
yep.
How has your day-to-day existence here changed, and has your life changed at all?
Yeah. And that's an interesting question right there. I feel like I've been asked that not only, from yourself and, from family members as well. And the honest answer is not much has changed from my day-to-day. In terms of how we've done things here over the past, it's always been a collaborative effort. Like, we've always worked on a unified front as a defensive staff. And so we always, go into the defensive staff room, we spend time together. We plan practice together. We plan game plans together. We've done everything together. And that hasn't been much of an adjustment. Obviously, the responsibilities has increased, but in terms of the day-to-day, we've operated on the same routine, and I think it's been a proven success in terms of the formula, and so we're trying to continue to uphold that.
Vic said that you'd be calling the defensive plays on game days. Have you done that before, and how do you feel about that?
Man, to be honest, it's such a blessing even to be considered that, or to be, given the opportunity, to call the plays on defense. This is, it's my first time, right? It's my first time, and the best part about it is I'm surrounded by such great experience. Bob Gregory, Keith Hayward, Andrew Brown and Vic Soto, and obviously our head coach and Justin Wilcox, right? And so to be able to have, that advice and that insight and that wisdom, to be able to go and ask a question, if there's something that I may, need a little bit more clarification on, or just some, some guidance, some direction. It's been such a blessing to be able to have them in my corner, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of it being a collaborative effort. Like, even though we didn't call it last year, coordinators, we've always worked amongst one another. Coach Sherman, relied on us as well. And so, we're just gonna continue to keep chopping wood.
So how do you feel about that? Are you eager? Are you a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited. I've always heard this growing up, or growing up in the profession, like the players make the plays, right? And we have a really talented group of players. We have a really talented group of players, and that's what excites me and fires me up, to be able to put those guys in position to be successful ultimately, right? Whatever is going to get work to their strengths, all right, going to put them in position to be able to be successful.
To that end, how important have the scrimmages and every practice been for you, just to kind of get reps and get ready for that first game to call plays?
Yeah, I think Coach Wilcox has structured practice in a way to prepare me for those moments. And it dates back going to spring ball. We had those opportunities during spring ball as well, during the spring game, or the spring showcase, I should say. So I've been able to acquire reps and reps and reps and reps over time. And when that time comes, and I'll definitely feel prepared, to be able to make that call.
What kind of goals do you have for your DBs in terms of performance and preparation?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, preparation is key, right? And everything that we stress in our room, it starts before we even touch the grass. And so, what I was saying earlier, those guys have done a really good job at taking the reins themselves. They're running their own walkthroughs, when we're not around. They're in the meeting room, going on the board, watching tape when we're not around. And then that translates to when we come around. We continue to uphold that standard and challenge them even further than that. And then when they step out on the field, all we ask is that they're able to apply what they've been coached and instructed to do, and then let their talent and their skill set take care of the rest. Right? We don't tell them that you need to do this, you need to do that. We give them the tools, and they trust the coaching, and that gives them the opportunity to have success.
One of the words we've heard from Coach Soto, a couple of players, Tim Buck talked, is hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Is that different than in the past? You would think that that's almost a common theme for a defensive player, but it seems like maybe it is a little different than the past.
Yeah, I think we've, we took it upon ourselves to, gather the leaders of the defense and really amongst the defense to establish the identity in which they wanted to be identified as, right? How they wanted to be seen. And there were a list of words, right? A list of adjectives that were presented, and it all fell underneath the umbrella of hunting. And nothing has changed in terms of how we play defense. Just now they know, like, subconsciously, man, I'm out there aggressively hunting at all costs, right? And now it's not necessarily being physical, just being physical. It's also the details of everything, right? Right? It's being patient, right? Knowing when it's the right time to strike, right? And so I think it's nothing that's changed in terms of how we perform as a defense.
We'll get a final question here for Terry.
In the highlights, we saw Paco get an interception. What can you tell us about his game and fill us in on kind of what he's about?
Yeah. First and foremost, he's a really great young man. Paco's a really great young man. It goes back to what I just said in terms of being coachable. He receives instruction and he's soaking it in. Like, he's digesting literally everything that you say to him, because I think ultimately he wants to be great. Right? He has aspirations and goals that he has set for himself of being able to play at the next level, and his talent obviously speaks for itself when he's out there on the field, right? And it's on us to continue to fine-tune the little nuances of the position in which he plays, the little details that he may not have been so locked in on prior to getting here. But we're excited and we're grateful to have him a part of the room, as well as, guys like, Jayon Young, guys like Kamari Shinwell, Hezekiah Masses, Drew Polidor, all those guys, Tristan Dunn. We're excited to have all of those guys, Aiden Monetai, because the more talent in our room makes our room so much better.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.